Many farm parents are proud of the day when a son or daughter announces they want to take over the family operation. Most family farms, however, have a difficult time figuring out how to make it happen. For example, will the child buy the farm because the parents probably need the money for their retirement? Also, how is this going to be accomplished fairly when there are non-farming siblings involved? Many farmers and families put off making transition plans because these questions are so difficult. Market to Market's Mike Tobias introduces us to a Nebraska family farm that's in transition, for better or worse.
Hang on a minute. What do we got in here?
It was the summer of 2000. Kelly and Riley Skrdlant had a lot on their minds. At this moment, whether a skunk was hiding inside irrigation pipe. But long term, they were both thinking about the future of the Skrdlant family farm.
Come on, Mischief!
Riley was 18, fresh out of high school with a passion for working with cattle and desire to do something different than most of his classmates. That's stay in agriculture.
A lot of people tell you if they could sit in an office and make money, they would, but I'd rather work from sun up to sundown for it and sweat it out.
Come on, girls!
Kelly, Riley's dad, wanted this to happen, just like he took over the farm from his father. But Kelly had concerns. Running a farm was getting expensive. Fuel, fertilizer, and equipment costs were going up.
I think you'd make a very good farmer, but it's tougher and tougher all the time for these young guys.
There was a lot of uncertainty for Riley and the Skrdlant farm. Flash forward 13 years. Riley is farming with his dad. After high school, he took community college classes and had a series of full-time jobs, all ag-related, most fairly close to home. Most recently, he was working with a fertilizer plant in Bladen. In one way or another, he also stayed involved with the farm, gradually starting to make more management decisions, especially involving livestock. The Skrdlant family farm became his full-time job at the beginning of 2013. Taking a role he describes as primary operator and secondary manager.
Dad finally decided he was getting too old to do a lot of it and wanted to slow down just a little bit. So I think the last couple of years I've been planting a lot for him, and a lot of hours at night after I'd worked all day over there, I'd come home, plant half the night for him, and I think he could see it was kind of getting worn down on me and my family and everyone else. So I think it was time that we did something different.
Certainly having him back on the farm, really, literally back on the farm, is a big difference. And although we are at times in conflict about management, and probably not as much conflict as he thinks, but it's just amazing to have him here.
Kelly, in his early 60s, calls this an evolution of the Skrdlant farm, similar to the way he took over the operation from his father. It's a typical way farms change hands, and the typical way young people enter agriculture.
Without a parent or a child relationship, or a grandparent or an uncle or a neighbor or someone to help get going, it's really difficult to jump into this. So I would be more than...
Geller's been helping young farmers get started for several decades, a time during which there's been a trend toward fewer young people entering agriculture. In 1982, 38% of principal farm operators had less than 10 years' experience. By 2007, that number was down to 26%. But Geller has a feeling that trend may be changing.
I have a hunch that we will see an increase, or at least a stabilizing of the younger people coming back in. I think a lot of it has to do with the economics of the whole situation, or especially in the crop side of things. Profits have really returned to agriculture in a way that they haven't in the last 30 or 40 years.
I think in this area there are probably more younger guys Riley's age, in that 30 to 35 range, that are staying in ag.
That's just an amendment. It can be an amendment to the lease. You just add it on to what you have.
At a workshop for beginning farmers and ranchers, Angie Miller is talking about leasing pasture land. With rapidly rising ag land values, access to land is one of the big barriers for beginning farmers. Miller, an attorney who works with a beginning farmer program, says that's why it's important to have programs that help.
Nebraska is the first state to pioneer what's called our beginning farmer tax credit, which allows for a beginning farmer to have a 3-year lease with an established producer generally. The established producer gets a 3-year tax credit. The beginning farmer gets a 3-year lease and a foot in the door.
When I started farming, the thing to do was you go out and buy some ground. You buy the land and maybe share some machinery for a while and maybe rent a quarter or two of ground to go with that. Today, that buy the land thing looks like it's coming 5, 10, 15 years down the road before they're able to generate enough capital to come up with that down payment so they can cash flow that land purchase.
Land isn't an issue for Riley Skrdlant. The family has about 1,800 acres. That's large for a family farm in the United States. Here, they grow corn, soybeans, and wheat and run about 150 head of cattle. Now, the challenge is the transition, or evolution, as Kelly Skrdlant calls it.
I think it's the lack of communication that really is when we see transitions begin to fail.
Whether you're family, relation, or even if you aren't family related, you need to figure out a way to talk about a lot of things. Expectations in the generations tend to be quite a bit different.
Transitions can be formal or informal. The latter, common in family operations, would probably best describe how Riley and Kelly are doing business.
There's a lot of old ways of thinking and new ways of thinking kind of coming together that don't really like to agree a lot of times.
When you work together in this kind of an operation, I think you're going to have differences.
We're both not the best of communicators. It's going to be kind of fly by our seat of our pants, I think, really. But it's probably the most wrong plan you could have in place, but that's kind of the way we're going to go with it, I think.
We probably both have a quick trigger, but things never last very long between us. It's done and over, and then we go on and get the job done. So that's probably not the way you would have someone write it out on a piece of paper for you to do this, but I think it's going to work for us.
For Market to Market, I'm Mike Tobias.
You can watch this story on Passing on the Family Farm on our Farmweek website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farmweek stories on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. Again, it's farmweek.msucares.com. And of course, you can understand how a communication breakdown could be a big hurdle in that kind of situation.
But you have to start talking, because if you put it off, a crisis could happen, and you don't make good decisions in a crisis.